special guest with us today. We've got back in studio with the Watertown Police Department. We have Captain Steve Rehorst. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us today on this happy Friday.
You're welcome.
You brought a special guest with you, if you will.
I did.
Yeah. You brought school resource. I almost did it because I joked. Resource officer Beyl.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you for joining us as well. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Captain Rehorst, do you want to kick us off with kind of what you are thinking about today?
Well, we knocked National Night Out of the park Tuesday, and that was such a fun event. And as I was sitting there, I think handing out some potato chips, I came to the realization that not unfortunately, kids are going to go back to school, but that means maybe the summer is kind of coming to an end. But, you kind of equate with the summer slowly going away once school starts. But maybe realize that school's starting August 25th is the official start date for the Watertown School District. And so that's only a couple of weeks away. And we thought, well, we should probably come in and chat about back to school and what that looks like. And Officer Beyl came with, and she's one of our 2 school resource officers, and just the work that they do and the importance of that. So she's along today as well. And yeah, we can talk some school things.
Very good. So Officer Beyl, what to you? Wait, how long have you been doing this?
So this will be my 4th year as a school resource officer. And then in November, I would have been with the police department for 6 years.
Okay.
So
what to you is a school resource officer?
To me, a school resource officer is there to obviously enforce safety, make sure that the kids are safe, make sure teachers are safe, but also to build a relationship with the kids, kind of bridge that gap between the kids and the community and law enforcement, trying to be that positive influence and encourage kids to be the best people that they can be.
Mm-hmm. So when you were first kind of getting into this, did you have good reception with students, or were they, kind of like, oh, cops here, whoa, stuff like that?
It was a little bit of a mix of both. I helped out quite a bit with Camp Chance before I started in the school. So I did know a good chunk of kids before going in, and I don't think they realize how big of an influence they are as kids when they're like, oh, hey, she's cool, I know her from this. And it really kind of spread. And now, honestly, when I walk into like the intermediate school or even the elementary schools, I'm getting hugs nonstop, and you feel like a celebrity.
Oh, wow. And are you at the high school?
So I covered the middle school, the intermediate school, and then all the elementary schools for the district.
Okay. All right. So what triggered me is I was wondering if like high school kids were hugging you. Like,
yeah, that'd be a little weird.
Because they're like, well, I don't need a hug, Mom, get off me, so.
But it is interesting when I do visit the high school, I do get quite a few kids that come up and they're just like, oh, hey, how's it going? Remember this? That relationship is still there. And it's good to see, because I feel like in this generation or this world, you don't see a lot of that. You don't see kids just actively coming up. And I mean, it could be something that's formal, or it could be something that's informal. They realize that you're a person too, So sitting there and joking with them, asking them how their day is, asking them if they even got a job, like all of that. It just is it's good to see.
Mm-hmm. So with you being with some of the younger students, then how does that differ from like being at the high school? Are there different things that you do with the students or that you deal with, I suppose?
It varies day to day. We have a variety of things that I can address or that I do address, I help out with. Other times, if it's not something that's criminal, if it's not something that's helping or it's a weird situation you might not have any idea like how to deal with. Mm-hmm. It's trying to find those answers, or maybe it's even teaching a class. I teach 3rd and 4th grade about bullying. And then I do 7th and 8th grade. We talk about like vaping, different online crimes, stuff like that. So it's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I'm sure, because the kids probably have questions too, and it just bounces all over like a pinball, probably.
Exactly. Exactly.
So do you, when you're not working with the students or something like that, what do you do? Do you kind of hang out in like the administration office and like wait to see if anything happens, or are you like doing research on the kids, or what do you do?
Well, normally I'm trying to catch up on paperwork. To tell you that honest God truth, or labeling videos. But if everything is completely caught up, it's going out and maybe doing traffic enforcement in those school zones, or maybe just walking through the school or popping in classes and seeing kind of what people are doing. I think it's really cool, like being able to walk into like the industrial tech class when they're racing CO2 cars and stuff like that, because it's just something fun. It's something that they get to do, or even going in and popping in a gym class. They're just like, what are you doing? I'm like, I needed a break.
Cool. So you're not just the school resource officer. You also have to do other police work too?
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So that's where that paperwork catching up comes in.
Oh yeah. Jack of all trades.
Wow. So you work at the school and then you have to go and do like patrols and regular police work?
Not typically during the school year. During the summer, I'm out on patrol, but during the school year, a lot of the things I do, they do generate reports and stuff like that. I'm not a huge fan of writing tickets. If we can avoid it, we're going to avoid it, but sometimes you can't avoid it. But like anything like that would require a report, or maybe there was a report of some other crime or something that happened after hours, or whatever the case might be. Then there's that type of investigation that would go into that too.
All right. Do you get like common questions from people about being an SRO that you think are good to kind of throw out there?
Yes and no. I think with it being summertime, one of the biggest things that we're going to see probably right off the bat is kids adjusting schedules. During the summertime, kids are sleeping in. They might have the baseball schedule where they go in at like, say, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, or maybe in the afternoon, or maybe they're out until 10 p.m. Well, during the school year, it's probably not the best idea to be out until, all hours of the night. But traffic is going to be increasing in the mornings. Everybody is going to have to try and change their schedules a little bit. So I would start with that. Otherwise, other things that I see are questions about, how do I respond to this? How do I respond to these types of situations? And it's really good to reach out. Absolutely love the questions. The biggest thing is have that open line of communication with your kids. Make sure that there's a time to be a parent, there's a time to be a friend, but go through the kids' phones, have that line of communication, know where they're at night, that way, if something does go wrong or something does happen, they can start the conversation by talking to you first.
Yeah. So we have 2 SROs, right? Okay. Yep. And who's the other one again?
Caden Walshager. He's at the high school.
Oh, okay. Is he newer to that position then?
Yeah, this will be his second year. So he's done 1 year, and this will be year number 2 for him.
All right. Because it was, is it Jamin?
Officer Jamin Harberts. Yep. He was the school resource officer there for a couple of years, and then we rotated through there, and now Officer Walshager's up there. So
nice. It's like doing your rounds or whatever, like when you're a doctor, you go through that for a little bit. And that way you're getting to know all the kids. So then when they get into adulthood, and if you run into them again, they know who you are, if they were speeding or something.
It's kind of neat that you mentioned that, because I remember when I used to teach DARE many years ago, there was an incident where there was an officer was going to deal with a youth in the community. And the officer went there, and the kid wasn't really talking to him, wouldn't really say much, kind of shut down. And then I remember I showed up, and I was at a gas station in town here, and I showed up, And this student just saw me and she said, "Officer Rehorst." And she ran up and gave me the biggest hug. And I think that's where you get those relationships built with the students. And so when they see those people they're familiar with and the ones that they know, here's a trusted adult, here's someone I can talk to. Because I remember then we went out to my car and we sat in there and we talked about what was going on and how to work through it. And not that the other officer wouldn't have got there eventually, but it was kind of neat to see that. And that's really what this SROs are all about, is developing those relationships. And of course, like Officer Beyl said, doing the prevention things. And then of course, obviously, number one thing is safety in the schools. We're there to make sure things are safe for the students and for the teachers and staff. And there's the enforcement piece too, but the biggest thing is the relationships. And I've seen that, and I'm sure Officer Beyl has a million stories like that, but I have the one, probably a couple more if I thought about it, but it's kind of wild to see how that actually works. I think we talk about it, but to actually see that in the field is pretty amazing.
Do large communities do this? Like, does Sioux Falls have this too, or?
Yeah, it's school resource officer programs pretty popular. I think that much like us, a lot of other communities realize that the youth in your community is the most vulnerable population, and we realize that, and our relationships. I've been working with the school district and the department. We've been working with the school district now for forever. And the conversations we have with them and the relationships with just the school district is amazing. The relationships with them, the parents, the students, the staff is what really makes this program, I think, so successful. And we're really fortunate and blessed to have that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was curious, when you do think of a worst case scenario in some of these other states and so on, like and they have those or anything like that. But I think even having that presence and, all those changes mindsets for students and teachers and all sorts of things. So have you seen any kind of a change in, how it's been since we've had those in the school?
I think, we've had them here since I've been an officer here. So I recall we started that probably right before I started working here. So probably 25 years we've had them. But I think over the years, we've really seen a shift. Because like you said, the students and staff know we're there. And if something happens, we're there to help. But also all the prevention work, like Amy had talked about, doing those classes and those presentations and getting information out there. And that prevention aspect is absolutely huge, and getting information to the students and how to, protect themselves online, or how to stay, get out of risky situations they might find themselves in, and just how the world kind of works, and having those kind of critical conversations with students has been huge. And I know there's still from time to time officers will deal with, issues in the school where maybe some enforcement's needed, but I think the students know that we're there and we have a job to do. And a lot of times the students aren't surprised that we're there, and they understand what we're doing, and they're very respectful and understand that.
Awesome. I thought of a question, Officer Beyl, about your current career path here. So what I'm thinking of parents and being a parent. So when you deal with younger students, like, what may surprise parents as far as how young some of these kids are introduced to like vaping, or even not using your phone properly or something? Like, do you run into like vaping, for instance? How young does that go?
Honestly, to me, it was very shocking to see how young it does go, because what I've seen is, like, some of my younger cases, they might see somebody else in the household doing it. Okay, they might just lay it down, whatever. They might see it on the ground afterwards and think, oh, hey, somebody in the house does that. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to do it, And they don't even know what it is. They don't know the hazards of it or anything like that. So then when I come in and do some of those classes or those discussions, or I'm talking to a kid about it and they're just like, holy cow, I didn't know it was this bad. Like, how do I talk to this family member about this? You know, it's a tough conversation, you know. But that too, I also like working with the parents. I would rather get the parents on board before, you know, addressing the situation in some cases, and be like, okay, I want to work side by side with you on this. You know, I think with cell phones, like, I know growing up, I was probably 6th grade, 7th grade when I first got a cell phone. Okay. And that was because there was a family emergency. That's the only reason I got one. But that's a new world yet, you know, when we talk about kids being vulnerable. And before, like, growing up, we didn't have cell phones to be brought in by. And now we have all of these threats on cell phones and the bullying and stuff like that. And it's, how do you engage that? You know, how do you have that conversation? And it can be tough, but it needs to happen, you know, so.
So you have students that come to you sometimes with concerns and you talk to them about it, and I suppose it depends on what it is, but go from there.
Yep, absolutely. I've had a few cases where the kids are actually scared to bring the conversation up to their family or up to the parents and be like, hey, this is what happened. Started talking to somebody online. It was not who I thought it was, you know, or maybe it's a vaping conversation or something else that's going on. And I'll be more than happy to sit down with the kid and the parents and walk through and, like, just kind of be that mediator and be like, hey, this is what's going on. Like, I'm not here to be the bad guy or anything like that. I'm here to help with the communication. And for the most part, like, it's worked out. So
awesome. Very good. Plus, you guys work with the Boys and Girls Club too, like that diversion program?
Yep. We work pretty closely with them. Lewis Canfield is the director of it, and Miranda Wright is the coordinator underneath him, and is daily communications. If there's a kid that's escalated, you know, trying to avoid writing another ticket, because at this point they've already gotten one, they're going to court. If they successfully go through the diversion program, do everything they're supposed to, the charge gets dismissed. I don't want to keep adding on to that. If we can get the kid de-escalated, I'm not helping the situation. I might call them and be like, hey, can you guys come over here and have a conversation with them? Let's see what we can do to get this figured out. Maybe we need to offer more resources. Maybe we need to talk to the family and figure out what's going on at home. Maybe we need to do something else, but we got to figure out what we can do to change that behavior, because sometimes tickets after tickets after tickets doesn't do anything.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, you know, life is full of lessons in life, you know, and unfortunately sometimes kids engage in behavior and maybe there's a ticket that's written and, you know, we don't need to lock them up and throw away the key, but I think there's lessons to be learned from what someone does. And we still do that as adults. There's lessons to be learned every day in what we're doing and things that happen in our life. And I think that's the biggest thing for the diversion program too, is that they go through that process and they're learning lessons about life, and hopefully they come out on the other end in a much better position than they were, you know, before that. So that's such a huge program, and we're really happy to have that partnership with Boys and Girls Club and the State's Attorney's Office and that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, is there anything that you think that we missed?
I think the only thing we missed is August 25th. Normally school starts on a Thursday, but they changed it to a Tuesday this year just to keep things, you know, changed up a little bit. But there's going to be a lot of people driving and a lot of kids running and walking and riding bikes and scooting around town in the morning and afternoon. So we just tell everyone out there, even if you don't have kids, plan a little extra time, because there's going to, you know, the routes, you know what it's like every year. Plan a little extra time, slow down. By all means, stay off your phone, follow the 15 mile an hour speed limits, and watch for kids. They don't always pay attention. they get excited. They see their buddy Steve
Mhm.
they haven't seen since May, and they're, oh my gosh, what did you do this summer? And they'll run across the street to go see Steve.
Mhm.
And you just never know. So watch for that. Watch for the school buses. They got those, stop signs that pop out on them, and then kids are getting off the bus and they're moving around. There's just a lot of moving parts when school starts. So get up a little extra early, go to bed a little extra early, and plan ahead. And let's have a great school year.
Mhm. Yeah, there's those bikes and especially kind of the scooters and the e-bike things. They go a little faster than I
Right.
used to be able to pedal.
Right.
So I catch myself even, I stop and I kind of look and then I'm ready to go. But boom, one of those is kind of whipping up. And I'm like, oh, you just go ahead. I'll just
Yeah.
wait, so.
Yeah, they can certainly scoot faster than they probably should sometimes. And, they haven't learned all the lessons in life yet. And so they maybe don't know all the rules of the road and safety things. So they might not pay attention. But I think that's our job as adults and people driving cars to pay attention. Put your phone down. Don't be eating that cheeseburger or whatever it is, mozzarella sticks,
Or putting makeup on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
save that for when you get home, just pay attention.
Mhm.
Let's protect those kids out there and make sure they're safe, and let's have a good one.
Yeah, put that phone down. I saw someone actually scrolling while driving, and I almost crashed because I was like, what? Watching them there.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is pretty wild when you see, I've seen it when I'm driving my personal car. Someone will be, next to me, and I'm like thinking to myself, how are you even paying attention to anything that's going on?
Yeah,
It's
just
such
your
a
peripheral,
dangerous-
maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad you guys are out there keeping people safe. So we appreciate that. And School Resource Officer Amy Beyl,
Mhm.
thank you for everything you do. I'm sure that gets a little complex sometimes, maybe even a little difficult, and maybe even emotional sometimes. See those kids grow up and they move on. So
Oh,
thank
yes,
you.
but they never forget us.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. So thank you for everything that you do. I appreciate that. And you guys out there protecting the community. That's a big deal. So thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see you guys soon, and enjoy the rest of your summer. And we'll get back to some music here on Northeast Radio SD.